Hi, I'm Lou Scott, and this is the Geppetto Room, where you don't have to be creative to be creative. You just have to be you, because here we're going to explain and explore techniques, methods to help you make transformative decisions, decisions that are going to increase and enrich the way you live, the way you work, the way you play in your state. Today, as usual, we have special guests, but I think we have very special guests. I think they are special because they're young and energetic and educated and dedicated, okay? We have Anna, Tadio, and we have Giovanni, Falco. They are the co-founders of the Democratic Youth, right? The Democratic Youth of Vermont. It's the first Democratic Youth of Vermont that we ever had in the state of Vermont. Now, like all my guests, if I was to spend time with their credentialing and so forth, we would use this show up and the next show. So I'm going to give a little highlights of them, and what I miss, they'll add to it. And Anna is a current alderwoman of Rutland. She's also a lawyer. She educated here. She's a graduate of UVM, where she was very active in politics at that time. She left the state to go to Lewis and Clark, I believe it was, to become a lawyer and take other courses in environmental art and in environmental science, and also about immigrants and refugees, which she's now, I think, working in that capacity. She's also a co-chair of the Democrats of Rutland County, and she acts for this organization, the organization they founded. She acts as the legal advisor where Giovanni is the president. One of the things I admired about her is that she's very active. She was inspired by people like the Dalai Lama, Bernie Sanders, and Nelson Mandela. Tells me a lot about her personality. It sure does. It tells you a lot too. Giovanni is a current third-year student at Northeastern, and he's always been active. He's a native here, he's always been active in politics and giving back to the community. And also he is now currently an intern with Tron, with David Tron, who's the congressman from Maryland. And he does all their digital press, so forth, and assignments and so forth. What I like about these people are they're young, they're energetic, they're dedicated, they're transformative, and they're engaged. What they are, because she mentioned Dalai Lama, let me mention it again. They are bodhisattvas. A bodhisattva in Buddhist philosophy is someone who dedicates his entire life to helping other people. That's the kind of people we need in this state. That's the kind of people that are heading up this organization. Now, enough of that. Let's meet them. Anne, how are you?
Hi, nice to meet you, and thank you for having us on the show.
Giovanni?
Thank you so much. Well, thank you for the introduction, and we're happy to be here today to talk about the Young Democrats.
The first question I'm going to ask you is, which I warned you about, is that when I was a hippie, and I'm still a hippie, but I wanted really a real hippie. We had a saying that said, we don't trust anybody over 30. Now, I know this organization will only accept people 36 or younger. Why is that?
So it's actually exciting. So Vermont has never had an official chapter of the Young Democrats before. And now that we're taking on this new step and joining with the Young Democrats of America to make this Vermont's first chapter, there's some rules and guidelines we have to follow through them. And they require anybody below the age of 36 to be able to participate in the organization. So this is a national guideline that each state follows across the country.
I like the idea. When you get to 36, you get kicked out?
We always accept volunteers, but yes, unfortunately, you can no longer be a voting member of the organization after 36. But there's other ways for people to get involved, to help out young Democrats across the state, and of course, support candidates that are running for office.
Let me ask this. I have to ask this, Anna. With all your education, all your background, you left, you came back. Why did you come back?
Vermont is my home. I am born and raised here in Vermont, and I did leave knowing that I was going to come back to Vermont. When I was a student at the University of Vermont, I did an internship for a semester and worked with Representative Jill Krowinski to try to pass consumer protection legislation in the state. And via that opportunity, I saw what a difference local politics can make and knew that I had an opportunity to run for office and get elected. So I left, intending to go to Oregon, see how things were being done out there. I had been at that time following a bill through the Vermont State House that was modeled on a bill out of Oregon, Death with Dignity. And so I figured, well, if I go to Oregon, I can see how they're doing things there. And the bill, my consumer protection bill, was modeled on a bill out of California. So my idea was, okay, I'm gonna go explore the West Coast, see how they're doing things out here, and then bring some fresh ideas back home.
And I expect that, Giovanni, you're going to come back.
Of course, never left. I've been in Boston for a couple years now, but like Anna said, Vermont is my home. Rutland holds a special place in my heart, and I could never ever leave Vermont.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, enough of that. Tell me about the objective of the mission, the objective of the organization. What do you want to, better said, what do you want to contribute to the community? Because you are that kind of people. You're engaged, contributing to the community. What do you want to do that?
So I think across the state, we've heard politicians talking about how we can't keep young people here. Politicians are talking about how they're leaving to go to other places, to other colleges, and I think that in part has to do with the lack of civic engagement opportunities that the state provides for students. And I think one of our major goals is to increase that student participation and make sure they stay here. Give them opportunities to engage in their communities, to run for office, to just even be involved in a local organization or for fight for a cause that matters to them. A few years ago, we started changing the name of the Rutland High School mascot to something new. And I've never seen that level of engagement among students before in the Rutland area. And I think Rutland in particular struggles with getting youth involved. So I think we need more of these organizations, more of these opportunities that give them the pathways to be successful. But also train them, right? We're trying to, make sure that if they join an organization or they join a campaign as a staffer, or they run for office themselves, they have the tools and the resources to know how these things operate.
Great experience. Yeah. The whole idea of contacting other people, being involved with an issue. Population, in my opinion, is a crisis. Agree with that?
Yeah, I think it is. We are experiencing a demographic crisis here where young people are leaving. I think at the very, very bare minimum, a goal of our organization is to register young people to vote and encourage them to, at the very least, request an absentee ballot and vote in every election. But then going above and beyond that, I was a recent participant in the Emerge signature training program here in Vermont, which trains Democratic women to run for office. And through this program, gained so many valuable skills that I realized just anybody that wants to be a candidate does not have. And so ultimately we, like Giovanni said, would like to be training candidates, giving them the tools that they need to empower them to run for office, and specifically young people.
So you're going to run training programs?
Yeah.
Where are they going to be run? How do you run?
Throughout the state.
Throughout the state. They'll be in person, virtual, bring in speakers, bring in former politicians, bring in campaign leaders. I mean, Anna, has a great experience with, trying to get young people involved with her state senate campaign, right? Like in Rutland, and she can talk more about it, but we've had this problem where just students don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to. And we want to provide those people that they can ask questions, they can learn from. We're very happy, and hasn't been announced yet really, but so I'm announcing it on your show. Former Lieutenant Governor Molly Gray of Vermont has joined our organization as the honorary chair. She's no longer 36, but there's honorary positions that they can take on.
And, first exception, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get lots of calls saying, why can't I join? I want to be on. You're going to have a tough time keeping that with the 36.
Yeah. So we're really excited to have her join us, to give her experience to students, for her to run training sessions, for her to use her networks, so students and young adults across the state have the resources and the opportunities they need to be successful in the political field.
So some of the programs, the training programs are how to run as a candidate.
Yep.
And public speaking. I mean, what are some of the programs that they will help these young people whenever they're doing?
Sure. So ideally, I have a couple of ideas about how we would do it, and it sort of depends on the level of candidate, right? So we would probably want to specify, and we would have, school board trainings and how to get elected to your select board. Those would be one type of training, and then we would have trainings for candidates wanting to run for the state legislature.
Yeah. filing PAC information, how to, report financial donations and financial disclosures. One of the big things for me is every governing body in the United States, whether it's Congress or your local school board, use its Robert's Rules of Order, and those are very confusing rules on how to govern a board. So one of our first trainings we're trying to set up is a Robert's Rules of Order training for people, so that they know how these boards operate, how Congress operates, so that they can, be as informed as possible.
How are you going to promote it? How are you going to get people interested, young people, to come forward? I mean, how are you going to do that?
Sure, we have a couple different plans for that, both by social media, reaching out to news outlets, getting the word out is our first step, but then we're also going to be at a bunch of public events this summer. So look for us at Friday Night Live in Rutland. We'll have a table there where we will be registering voters, but we are planning on holding events throughout the state. So although we are
in the Pride,
I will be at Pride this coming Saturday.
Good,
yes, I'm excited for that. We're going to start in Rutland, and then we're going to we're hoping to have outreach throughout all of the counties in the state.
So,
and I do want to mention that we have a very good relationship with the Vermont Democratic Party. We're partnered with them. We're working with them closely, and they're helping facilitate that outreach, facilitate that interaction between the two organizations, and as we work together to broaden democratic policies across the state.
the idea that you identified the population as an issue, a real issue, and then combining it with the political aspects of it and so forth is a good idea. It's a good idea because it serves so many different purposes. Do you have any that you can share, any concrete ideas other than training and trying to keep that you want to be able to do to assure that our young people don't leave, and to assure that people will come here?
Yeah.
Well, part of that comes with electing leaders that prioritize issues that matter to young people, like affordable housing, access to affordable childcare. Those are really large issues. I'm 32 years old, and so, in deciding whether to stay or go or come back, those are things I was considering.
Yeah.
And so those are things that are being addressed at the state legislature. The governor has been somewhat helpful in some issues, and in other issues not as helpful. And so, ultimately, I think it would be great to get a young person elected as our governor who prioritizes issues that matter to us as well.
I think we should elect all young people in every phase, every phase. And I'm 87, but I recognize the idea that there's a generation that older generations might have failed. That's all we failed. And so all these new, and Vermont has so many issues. The whole aspect that you just said about population is not only daycare centers, it's not only we're too expensive to live, and we continue to usurp that. I mean, what I mean by usurping that is that the idea that Killington will build $2 million house. We don't need $2 million houses. We need affordable housing. You're not going to get people to come here. You're not going to get young people to stay here if you can't make it less expensive to live. Without losing the idea that you're going to change the traditional way of living to Vermont. Tell me about that. The idea that you're going to make these changes, but not scary changes. You're going to make changes that are needed. Change is constant.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
And I think that's one of our goals of the organization is we're trying to implement and advocate for policy that is common sense values that we as Vermonters, as Democrats, care about in the state. And I think that it's even broader than just that. I went to Rutland High School, and I think that getting people politically involved in the public school system is a little tricky. I think that the politics is a taboo subject still. And
what is a taboo subject?
It's just a taboo subject. I feel like people just don't want to talk about politics in the classroom, and that doesn't allow students to be able to go out and do things that they want to do. Right? Like if you're not teaching them about and for example, Rutland Forward, an organization in Rutland, if we're not teaching them about Rutland Forward's mission and what they are doing across the country, or sorry, across the county, getting young people elected. Then they're not going to be able to go out and do these things. So I think we need to bring the politics into the schools. I think we need to, and of course in higher education, decrease the costs of the higher education institutions in Vermont. But these are the things that are roadblocking students from taking advantage of what we have to offer.
So there are barriers to the expense, the housing, what you just talked about. There are barriers to be successful with our issues.
Yep.
They are barriers.
Yep.
And you're saying, and I want to say it again also, is that you feel that if you have young thinking in leadership roles, then things will change. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we have just finished, we just did our first meeting just last week with the Young Democrats, and there are so many students that have just showed up, so many young people between 18 and 36 that came and were like, wow, we have never had this opportunity before. They just have not had a way to communicate with other students. They've never had a way to communicate with leaders in their fields. We have people that are lawyers. We have people that are congressional staff. We have people that are working at nonprofits and organizations across the state. So not only are we providing these educational opportunities, but we're providing a network for students to get involved with and then provide them opportunities for career pathways afterwards.
How do you keep the network going? You got that one meeting, you're enthusiastic. Now,
Yeah.
what do you do to communicate with them, meet with them, do the training? There's a lot of details. How do you do that?
Well, so we will be having monthly meetings. Every other month will probably be an executive committee meeting where we're just
Around the
discussing
state
inner
or
business.
Rutland?
Around the state?
It will be around the state. We're starting on Zoom. People are away at college, so to make it more accessible for people that are, born and raised here and this is their home, Vermont is, but they're off at college. So we'll do Zoom meetings. I think ultimately we would like to be able to have a hybrid option for folks just to, again, make things more accessible. If somebody doesn't have a computer, we want to make sure that they can still participate. But so having hybrid meetings, and then we would like to have a combination of in-person trainings, and probably as soon as we have a schedule, we'll get that out way ahead of time.
And of course, I think one of the biggest things is we got to have fun too, right? We're going to have to have fun in the organization. So, for example, we're having,
think so.
Yeah, for example, in August 5th, we're having a launching event here in Rutland, and we're inviting everybody, all the Young Democrats across the state. We're inviting some, politicians to speak, and of course, getting those young candidates to come to and advertise themselves, and provide these network opportunities, provide kids and young adults.
Have you been contacting the young professionals of Rutland?
I do have contact with some of them, and so just this morning we opened our bank account. We officially filed our paperwork last week, so you are meeting with us really at the beginning stages of the organization. But yes, definitely would like to invite and network with the young professionals.
And you're going to need help.
Yeah, and we want to expand it, outside of Vermont too. I've worked with the Massachusetts Young Democrats, being in Boston at Northeastern. We want to bring all these New England states together, right, and provide these networks and policy positions that really bring New England in the right direction. Because I think that some of these issues that Vermont is facing are also the same ones in New Hampshire and Maine, and even in Massachusetts, right? So by working together, working as the Young Democrats, and working with the Young Democrats of America, we have the opportunity to really advocate for policy on the state and the local levels, but also on the federal level.
There's a preponderance of Republicans, okay, liberal like that. So the idea that you think you're going to run into a lot of barriers?
Yeah.
I don't think so. A lot of younger people trying to take offices and so forth. You feel that you can't achieve that? I think you can achieve that because of the state, but you're smiling. Tell me about that.
Well, I'm smiling because in my state Senate campaign, I was beat by 3 retired old white men. And so the 3 Democrats that were running were all young professionals who have full-time jobs. So I do think that, youth to some extent is a barrier to participation in public office when you have to work a full-time job, when your health insurance is dependent on your job. Although the state legislature did recently make it possible that now legislators can get health insurance through the state. And so that, I think, was a great step that they took to make holding public office more accessible to young people.
Yeah, and on that note, I think it's also like, as a young person, both of us are still young, we are often overlooked just because of our age, right? I mean, that happens quite frequently. Like, oh, you don't have a master's degree yet? Oh, well, then you can't do this, right? And that's just wrong. And I think that there's a lot of young people.
Your brain is not fully developed. It's still reptilian. Right?
Yeah, and it's
it puts you way back. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
and that's also a problem, right? I mean, if we don't believe in the young people to actually, do the job and make a difference, to run for board of aldermen or to be on a school board, then how are we ever going to get inclusivity in our legislators?
I remember once an older person in my hippie years said to me, your hair's too long. I said, well, Jesus had long hair. Yes. What's wrong? Does it change my way I think? No. I think a lot of what you just talked about is fear, and change itself is toxic.
Yep.
Anything that disrupts my comfort levels and so forth like that is toxic, and I'll rebel against it. That's what probably happened to you. Yeah. I think that maybe I'm not excusing it. I think it's stupid. We need young thinking. We need young thinking in all places and so forth, and the training idea. And so do you have any goals about members, total members? A
goal for total members.
Yeah.
We would like to have representation in every county. I think that's the bare minimum, is that we're hoping to get people engaged throughout the state, but a total member, I mean, right now we have 30 members and we've only been really up and running for a month or two. So I feel like we just want to keep growing.
And from all across the state too. We have members from Burlington, from Essex, from Rutland to Poultney to Bennington to Timoth, right? So like we have wide membership across the state, and we want to make sure that there's a large number from each county so that they can support their own communities and support their own local chapters for the future.
What are you doing to get help? You're two of the people who found this. You have all the smartness, education, background, so all the things you're talking about, you need help.
Yeah.
What are you doing to help members?
Well, we're pretty well networked, pretty well resourced. We know a lot of people that can give opinions and advice. For example, Elaine Haney, who is the executive director of Emerge, has lots of pro tips on how to help train candidates and support staff. I have also done lots of trainings from Emily's List. There are so many resources out there. All you have to do is sit at a computer and search for those resources.
And that's the problem, right? Young people don't know about the resources, so we're trying to be this conduit between the resources and the young people. We're relying on state and local politicians. Like I mentioned, Molly Gray. She's been a huge help. Mike Pichek, Vermont Treasurer, huge help.
Anybody else other than Molly? At this point?
At this point, yeah. So yeah, Mike Pichek, Vermont State Treasurer, has been very helpful and involved. We met with Becca Ballant, the U.S. Representative. We met with her at the Curtis Hoff dinner, and we're hoping to get involved with the Ballant Corps a little bit, as she's trying to engage young people. So we're really focusing on the younger people and the members for outreach, support, and help. But these pretty big politicians also have networks, and they also have connections, and they've been super helpful across the board getting us started.
So everybody can expect change, good, valid change, and remove the barriers, and try to be successful about getting people to come here and businesses to come here. And now cost of living lowering and all the things that we have to do. That sounds...
Yeah, we got to keep people in the state, and it's got to start with us. It's got to start with the Young Democrats. It has to start with organizing and advocating and being politically engaged in your communities.
Is UVM doing anything specific? Are they important to you guys?
Oh, super important.
UVM, because they attract students from all over the world, all over the place.
Yeah, UVM's super important. They have a college Democratic club at UVM that we've been working with already. They have supplied some members, and they've brought in some of their knowledge and connections as well. Really, though, they've allowed some of the UVM students to come in and join our organization as well. Yep.
I'm wishing that we had so much more time. We still got time. Summarize. Think about the things you might not have said, and summarize at this particular point what you really want to contribute to society, contribute to the community.
We want to engage young people, inspire young people to take action, and empower them to run for office and take action.
Get that message out loud and clear, because young people need that.
Engage, inspire, and empower.
Engage, inspire, and empower.
For young people.
Engage, inspire, and empower. Absolutely. You have anything more to summarize?
No, I think Anna did a great job summarizing it. I think we're really excited to officially be recognized. I think we're excited to get involved, to work with our politicians, and to truly, truly make a difference across the state. So,
I think it'll make a difference.
Thank you.
I think so. Okay. I told you they would be impressive, right? They're very impressive. And why are they impressive? Because they're bodhisattvas. Again, let me explain that. It's a person who's dedicated to helping other people. His whole life is. Certainly these people are like that. They're transformative. They're young. They have ideas. And they're not going to usurp the traditions. You can't fear these people. You can't fear the young. You have to accept them because they are smarter than we are. They are. And I'm old, and I understand that, but they're smarter. And so at one point in time, we have to allow, because they have new ideas, and we need new ideas in this state, especially about our population. We have to be inspired by younger people. And our population is a big problem. So is our cost of living and all the other barriers. And I think these people, you're going to hear more about them. You're going to hear much more about these people. And before I end, we have a few more minutes. I'm going to turn it back again, even at the ending, to say, any other last words? I want the words to end on you, not on me.
I think the big one, if you are in Rutland and you are interested in becoming a Young Democrat, please reach out to us. Our socials should be posted on the screen. DM us on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or whatever. We really want you to be involved, and we really want you to be engaged with us, and so we can help you be engaged with your community.
Yeah, we want to hear from people. Please reach out to us. We would love to help support you to run for office.
Yeah.
And at the very bare minimum, come find us at Friday Night Live and get registered to vote if you are not registered to vote, and please commit to voting.
Yeah.
Okay, you heard it all. This is Geppetto Room. This is Lou Scott. Until next time.